Those that don't remember their past are doomed to repeat it. So I have to wonder why it is. Everybody wants to go back to these old things, Mary Poppins now being racist, apparently, because what's the meme? Pulls, damn white people in their pulls caught out of hat, getting dirty. That's literally it. It was a couple days ago. I made a video about this guy goes to a bar in Phoenix, I think it was in Phoenix, and he sees an image of coal miners. Literally, people who they go underground and they remove coal, okay? And they were covered in soot. And he said this was blackface. And he asked, this is probably the craziest thing about it, is he asks his friends what they see. His friends say, I see some coal miners. And then the story goes, my friend stopped, paused, and said, wait a minute, that's blackface. No, it isn't. Just because some people paint themselves, or get dirty doesn't mean they're intentionally trying to be racist. George Carlin said, he did this really long bit about racism and everything, and he said it's the intent, okay? It's the intent, not the word, not what they're doing, it's the intent behind it. Who cares what they look like? Who cares what they're saying? It's the racist behind the actions you want to be concerned about, not some silly word or some silly image of a woman who happens to have dirt on her face. So what we have here, I can't believe this is a story. Mary Poppins branded racist by U.S. academic in blackface row over scene where she gets covered in soot. Now they do point out, okay, they point out that apparently in this movie, in the book, they were making a reference to old racist things, right? We'll read through it and then we'll talk about the importance of history. The classic family film Mary Poppins has been branded racist by a U.S. academic who accuses Dame Julie Andrews of blacking up with soot while dancing with chimney sweeps. In a piece for the New York Times, Professor Daniel Pollock-Pelsner criticizes one of the film's iconic moments, when Mary Poppins joins Dick Van Dyke's Bert to dance on a rooftop for the classic song Step in Time. He writes, when the magical nanny, played by Julie Andrews, accompanies her young charges, Michael and Jane Banks, up their chimney, her face gets covered in soot. But instead of wiping it off, she gamely powders her nose and cheeks even blacker. This might seem like an innocuous comic scene if Travers novels didn't associate chimney sweeps' blackened faces with racial caricature. Don't touch me. I'm not going to repeat that phrase, but basically they call black people heathens. A housemaid screams and Mary Poppins opens the door in 1943. When the dark figures of the chimney sweeps step in time on a roof, a naval buffoon, Admiral Boom, shouts, "We're being attacked by Hottentots," and orders his cannons to be fired at the cheeky devils. We're in on the joke, such as it is. These aren't really black Africans, they're grinning white dancers in blackface. It's a parody of Black Menace. It's even posted on a white nationalist website as evidence of the film's racial hierarchy. I just want to point something out. To a regular person, to us normal individuals, it's just chimney sweeps. They got dirt on their face. That's about it. But only to the white nationalists and the regressive far identitarian leftists do they see anything else. What do I see when I watch this? It's silly. When Mary Poppins powders her face or whatever with chimney soot, it's like, haha, she's not wiping it off because I just see it as like, you know what I could say? Let's frame this as communist propaganda. Let's frame this as a communist propaganda, right? So you see what they're doing is they're framing it as racial propaganda. But we can do this too. We can play this game. What she's actually doing is showing solidarity with the working class. These kids are well off. They mentioned this too. I think they mentioned in the other one. Oh, no, they mentioned it here in the story. It's about class, right? Mary Poppins is a posh domestic. She goes up the chimney, signifying her transformation as she gets covered in dirt to the working class. And the reason she doesn't remove the soot is because she's standing in solidarity with her working class brethren. And the reason they're dancing and the admiral is shooting at them, it's a reference to the police state oppressing the working class with riot forces beating them down. What about that propaganda? The point I'm trying to make is I don't think that's true either. It's literally just a woman who gets dirt on her face. That's it. And she's with her friends and they're dancing to a song. Now don't get me wrong, right? I think you can easily go back in time and find a ton of racist things. But here's the thing. We all, for the most part, agree they're bad. We don't want to do those things anymore, right? So let's go over to the actual New York Times piece, right? They point out a few things. This is the actual story. Mary Poppins and the nanny's shameful flirting with blackface. Oh, please. She's got dirt on her face. Heaven forbid a person gets dirty, okay? No, I'm sorry. If you get dirt on your face and you're in a movie, it's not racist. It's the intent that matters. They do bring up Mickey Mouse, though. So You've got Mickey Mouse, I believe it's Mickey Mouse as Topsy in the 1933 short. Was America extremely racist in the past? Yes, quite literally. We had segregation, we had slavery, we had very awful racism. And I know this from my family, right? Interracial marriage wasn't legal nationwide until like 1967 or something like that. Maybe I'm getting the year wrong. The point is, we do have racist history in our past, and racism isn't completely gone. There are still many crazy racists throughout the country. They exist, it's true. However, what bothers me is that instead of looking forward and recognizing that these changes are coming in such a way that it's just a natural progression, they're going back in time and smearing other things as racist. And I have to wonder why it is. Why is it? As I mentioned in the beginning, those who forget their past are doomed to repeat it. I wonder why it is that so many of these professors, this individual who's writing this article, don't seem to understand the importance of recognizing our past and keeping and showing people, and to the Mickey Mouse point, there's I think it was Looney Tunes. Bugs Bunny, I believe, did blackface, and they show this and they say, these were different times, and you need to recognize that. But we're going to keep, we're going to show people the cartoon so they understand how things used to be. So thus, we don't go back and repeat that. Why is it that the people who go to college don't seem to understand the importance of looking back and recognizing how we get rid of things that are bad and why we keep things that are good? They just go back and attack. It's like it's part of, in my opinion, it's part of erasing culture so that they can build a new foundation. The reason I think that they attack Mary Poppins is because Mary Poppins is culturally relevant. It's Disney. It's nostalgic. A lot of people recognize it. A lot of people watched it when they were kids, and they want to destroy that notion so they can remove your cultural, what's behind you in terms of your cultural history, so that they can create a new system forward. They can force you into it. They can tell you what you're doing is wrong, and society has deemed you socially unacceptable, and thus you must do as we say. And we can erase these old things and bring about entirely new things. It's ultra progressivism. It's in some ways progress for the sake of progress. Not here's the way I would put it. We want to get rid of the bad stuff and keep the good stuff. Okay? So we can recognize that, if you go back in time, you're going to find a ton of really awful things. Yeah, okay. But why are we going to try and, to take it, I'll put it this way. Let me frame it this way to try and clarify. Yes, we know Mickey Mouse did racist things, but going back and accusing Mary Poppins of being racist because she got dirt on her face, or the kids, or the chimney sweep, it's quite literal. They're cleaning chimneys. People get dirty. It seems like this is just a very pathetic attempt at demonizing history because they want to remove these things. They want to get rid of the old to build a new. All right. Well, let's read on and look at what the professor had to say. First, they mentioned that users online said they mentioned some people were criticizing them. I think this is a reach. She was friends with the chimney sweep. When she got out and danced with him, she got soot on her face, if I recall this correctly. That's about it. Mary Poppins wasn't flirting with blackface. It was soot in their faces from being from being a chimney. No, they weren't being a chimney. They were in a chimney. A third said, this is a candidate for the stupidest New York Times article of all time. I agree. However, the others agreed with some of the points raised. Michael Schulman, a writer for the New Yorker, said, this made me think about class, too. How Mary Poppins, a posh domestic, scrambles the class divide and introduces Jane and Michael to the much more fun world of pleb chimney sweeps, further scrambled in the sequel when the Bankses are also in the poorhouse. Author Mr. Pollock Pelsner posted online after the article was published. And this is where it gets good. The chief reason I wrote this article was the hope that a Disney exec would read it, take another look at the forthcoming Dumbo remake, and ask if there was anything just a little bit racist they might want to rethink before it hits the big screen. Here's one thing I've learned about the alt-right, aka Boogeyman. After I wrote this article and received a zillion hate messages in response, they sure like Mary Poppins. No, I'll tell you what. Alt-right, as far as I'm concerned right now, might as well just be the word boogeyman. Could you imagine if every other week I wrote a story called something like The Boogeyman, the boogeymen are expanding and recruiting, and talked about how boogeymen were behind every rock, behind every tree, in every closet, under every bed? Could you imagine if mainstream celebrities were posting online saying, there's boogeymen everywhere? I swear to God. And they started pointing at random people and being like, that's a boogeyman. I swear to God, it's like, dude, you're losing it. Okay, the boogeyman isn't real. The alt-right is a tiny, tiny group of people with no significant power whatsoever. But they need a villain. They need a villain to point at. They need to accuse everybody of being this villain. They need to accuse everybody of being in cahoots with the boogeyman or boogeyman adjacent. Congratulations, Mary Poppins, you've made it to the ranks of being part of boogeyman culture, where simply by getting dirty, you are now racist. And this is where we are today. You know what? Everyone's losing their damn mind. I'll have another video up at 1 p.m. I'll see you then.